Okay, everybody, welcome to this latest installment in the LGFA Gaelic4Mothers&Others sponsored by SportsDirect webinar series. We are delighted that you have chosen to join us on this webinar, and it is the fifth installment in this particular series that we've run this year. If you are interested in checking out any of the previous webinars, you can see on your screen there the details of all of the other webinars that have taken place, and we still have one to come after this one. So they are all available on our Ladies Gaelic Football Association YouTube channel. So go on there and be sure to check those out. So again, I'll reference that before the end of this webinar as well. So we'll get started. And I suppose I am delighted to be joined by our guest presenter this evening, Mark Rodgers. I'll let Mark do his own introduction. I am very familiar with Mark insofar as we have done, or we've been constantly communicating. He's probably sick of me at this stage. Mark was heavily involved in the development and delivery of the Wexford LGFA County Board strategic plan. So he's probably sick of his phone ringing and seeing Vinnie Whelan coming up on it. And by way of an introduction, my name is Vinnie Whelan, so I am National Development Officer, and my remit is for growth and participation with the Ladies Gaelic Football Association. So I'm sure Mark probably sick of hearing from me at this stage. So I'm going to let Mark take over. The title of tonight is Valuing Your Value, focusing on self-esteem and self-confidence and what Gaelic4Mothers&Others participants can bring to the table within the club. Okay, so I'm going to let Mark do his own intro, and I'm going to let him take over, and I will be jumping back in and out as the webinar progresses.
Thank you very much, Vinnie. And Vinnie's actually one of the gems of the organization, so he's been a little bit modest there. You're all very welcome, everybody. It's brilliant to be online this evening. Unfortunately, I suppose we don't have the level of interaction that we normally have, but hopefully this evening I can give you a good introduction to some ideas around self-esteem and self-confidence, and the value that you can bring to your clubs or your community. What I'll be doing is I'll be just talking a little bit around some of the techniques, the tips and the tricks that we would use with high performance athletes. My own background, I suppose I have a master's there, as you can see, in sport and exercise psychology. So we're going to just be talking around some of the concepts around, you know, increasing self-esteem, increasing self-confidence, which you may or may not be aware of. It might be just a matter of refreshing some of the ideas that you know already, but hopefully there'll be some huge value here in this session this evening. As Vinnie said, we're going to keep it to about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, try and kind of pack in as much as we can. And hopefully, as I said, there's a good few ideas there that you can maybe use in your own games or in your own roles within the club, or maybe there's a couple of people around you that maybe you might be able to pass on a few tips, a few tricks around the content of the webinar this evening. So I think, Vinnie, we'll just get started. So as mentioned, we'll just do a quick introduction to what is self-esteem and what is self-confidence, and then chat a little bit around how we can look to build it or increase our self-esteem and self-confidence. A little technique there towards the end about reset and refocusing, which is really important. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with a slide or two around how you can maybe contribute a little bit more to the club or the community within the role of the Gaelic4Mothers&Others. So that's it. So let's just kick it off there. So what we will first of all do is just give a little definition for self-esteem and self-confidence, or maybe a couple of words that might often be used in the psychology field. But in general, self-esteem is, you know, accepting yourself. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy the way that I am. I'm happy with the skills that I have, and my own self-worth. And it's really important that certainly when we're viewing ourselves, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, that when we're thinking about ourselves, when nobody's watching, when nobody's listening, that, you know what, we're rating ourselves at ideally a 7 or an 8 or a 9, or, you know, even a 10 out of 10 would be amazing, because there is I suppose, a connection between high self-esteem and general good mental health, and, you know, feeling good about yourself, and the opposite is also true. If we don't accept ourselves, or if we're not as happy about ourselves with low self-esteem, then that can lead to, you know, mental health issues. So this webinar is brilliant in terms of just identifying what self-esteem is and how we can look to increase our self-esteem. Self-confidence then is a little bit more, sorry, just come back there, it's just a little bit more specific in that self-confidence is around a belief that we can do something or achieve something. So for example, you know, we all know Messi is a great soccer player, but if you ask Messi to go out on the Gaelic pitch and solo up and score a point, his self-confidence mightn't be as high as if he was in the soccer pitch. So self-confidence, I suppose, is related to self-esteem. Both can go up and down, but in general, what we'd be looking to do is to look at some of the techniques or the tips and the tricks that we can use in our daily lives, in playing a little bit of, you know, Gaelic4Mothers&Others that can help us to increase and feel a lot better about ourselves and in our roles in the either playing or in the community or in the family type of thing. So yeah, we'll move it along there. Yeah, so next slide. So what's really funny is when you actually boil it down, a lot of what we feel is a result of chemical reactions in the body. So at a very simple level, if you're, and we'd often talk to athletes about this, if you're asked to do a sprint the length of a pitch, halfway down the pitch, you start to feel, you know, a little bit tired or a little bit exhausted. What is actually happening is there's lactose appearing in your muscles as a result of all the energy that you're expending. And one of your nerve cells has picked up this elevated level of lactose and it sends a little signal up to the brain. And all it is a little chemical reaction in the brain. What the brain then does is it takes that signal and goes off into your memory banks. And it says, oh, this signal, that means you're tired. That means, you know, you could be in pain in the next 10 yards. And it sends that signal back down to your legs and tells your legs, okay, it's time to stop. It's time to slow up. So at that level, a lot of what we feel, a lot of what's gone on in life is actually also happening at a chemical level. So when you get involved in, for example, the Gaelic4Mothers&Others, you can start to, if you like, generate or increase the levels of these chemicals within your body just by engaging in Gaelic4Mothers&Others, engaging in activity. And four of the key chemicals here, brain chemicals that you're looking to try and increase is first of all dopamine, and dopamine is that hit that we get when we've achieved something, that feel-good factor, that little high, you know, we win a sprint, or maybe we finally score a point for the first time in, you know, 4 or 5 years, or put in a good tackle. So those dopamine hits, generally, if you've got high dopamine levels, you're generally your mental health, you're feeling good about yourself. Oxytocin is another chemical, which is often called the love drug. We're tribal by nature. We love being part of a group. We love being included in a group. So by getting involved in your team, getting involved, playing, going down to training, those chemicals are increasing. You're just automatically flooding your body, flooding your brain with oxytocin, which again is going to carry on through the week and the month. So again, by engaging in activity, you can increase serotonin as well, which is a real feel-good factor, often associated with sunlight. And the final chemical there is endorphins, which are the chemicals that are released when you go into the pain zone. And sometimes after a 5K, or, you know, it might be a 500-meter run or a 50-meter run, you feel really good afterwards. Those are the endorphins flowing through your body to try and kill the pain a little bit and make you feel good. So the very fact that you might have a busy life, you might have a busy family life, you're engaging with this Gaelic4Mothers&Others, you're actually helping to increase all these brain chemicals, which are really good for feeling good about yourself and going on and saying, do you know what, I'll get up tomorrow and let's go on with it. So that's the reason that, you know, you'll probably find on an emotional level, it's really good, but also at a biological level, there's changes happening in your brain, which is really useful in terms of, you know, life and enjoying life and feeling full of confidence and self-esteem. Yeah, so we're on to the next one. So to look at some other ways in which we can look to increase our own self-esteem and feeling good about ourselves, this is a really interesting one, which you may have heard, you know, if you've been involved with sport, and the phrase is called control the controllables. And what that means is in life, there's certain things we can control and there's certain things that we can't control. So if you look at this aspect, which is called the locus means the place of control. If we feel that we can control our lives, in other words, if we feel that the control is within our capabilities, then generally we feel a lot better, a lot more confident about a situation. So I feel that I can make things happen. I will work for what I want to work for. So your boss, for example, says, listen, little project there, you've got 10 days to do it. Talk to Mary if you need a little bit of help with finance. Talk to Johnny if you need a little bit of help with, getting a few extra resources, and come back to me. Generally, you're going to feel you're in control of your work. And that's going to be brilliant. You're going to feel that level of control. You're going to be excited and you're off and you're going to do it. Alternatively, the boss comes in and says, I need you to do that for a day. And they come in a couple of hours later, listen, that's not good enough. I need to move over there. This is not happening for me. And you're getting bounced from Billy to Jack, and it's just not happening for you. You feel like, Jesus, it's a bit out of control here. And that can happen with life. You're trying to get out to go to training. You can't find a babysitter. Your partner maybe is good off with that type of thing. So what's really important is to kind of look at yourself, in terms of a scale of 1 to 10. How in control of your life do you feel? And generally, if we can look to increase the level of control that we feel we have in our lives, and sometimes that means setting a few little boundaries. Sometimes it means like saying no to the boss. I know I do quite a bit of training myself, and my running buddy, he's working for one of the big corporations, but he makes sure that his boss knows that, in the evenings I'm heavily involved in the community, and I've kids, I've got to run them here, I've got to run them there. So I can't do the long hours. I can't answer the emails up until 9, 10 o'clock at night. I've just other commitments in the community. And over time, he's managed to build up those barriers so that he feels like he's got control over, and that allows him then to go off and do the things that he wants to do. So little conversations with other people, and sometimes little conversations with ourselves around, do you know what, I need to make a little stance here, or I need to take a little bit more control over the situation. Really good, really helpful. Okay, Vinny? So as you can probably see from the last slide, these conversations generally happen with ourselves. We don't walk around talking to other people about these things. Do I feel in control? Do I not feel in control? And this shows the importance of what's called self-talk, a really important component in sport, in high performance in sport. We have so many thoughts that go through our heads every day, but not always are these positive thoughts, or these thoughts that help us to move forward in the way in which we want to. So if we're working with athletes or players, what we would say is those little voices in your head, let's call them the inner coach. That coach should be really positive, really encouraging toward yourself. It's an inner voice that's going to help you to move along. So generally what you want to do is maybe just have a little think and catch yourself thinking, catch yourself talking to yourself. Are those positive thoughts or are they negative thoughts? And in general, what we'd like to do is try and move those towards positive thoughts. So for example, you take Johnny Sexton, he's got a kick the last 10 seconds of the game. It's really important that those thoughts will be very positive. So in the weeks and the months beforehand, he's going to be thinking, I've got this. This is easy. I've practiced it 100 times. And day after day, he's going to be repeating those thoughts and that talk in his own head. I've got this. This is easy, straight through the posts. So that when he steps up on game day against England, against Scotland, the last minute of the game, puts the ball down. I've got this. This is easy, straight through the posts. So in the beginning, when he was younger, he maybe wouldn't have had those thoughts, but he's trained himself. He spent the time. We've got to work on this on our own inner coach, if you like. So yeah, next slide. So you can see there on the left-hand side, maybe a list of phrases or words that might come naturally. It's terrible, if only, it's not my fault, I can't. Maybe not as encouraging, maybe not as motivational, but let's try and find another phrase or another set of words that could be more motivational, and remind yourselves, catch yourselves maybe saying something that isn't as positive as it needs to be, and replace it with something which is a lot more positive or a lot more motivational. And it's not like it's a magic wand and all I have to do is change one word and life is, amazing, but we're nudging ourselves along towards getting much more control, much more positivity into what we're doing. And that allows us to take on more challenges, if you like, and also to maybe rebound that little bit quicker from those little setbacks that happen from time to time. So what you're effectively doing is you're reframing a situation. You're looking at a situation differently than you might have in the past. And the phrase on the left there, win or learn, is the title of a book by John Kavanagh, who was a very famous MMA coach. So he, used that expression with all his athletes and all his fighters is, you're going to win or else you're going to learn a lesson. And it's a great way of looking at those setbacks. Conor McGregor went out, fought Nate Diaz back in the day when we all loved him, and he lost. But he went away, he realized that he wasn't fit enough in a certain way, did the training, came back, and he won the rematch. So that was a perfect example of either you win or you learn a lesson. And so maybe that's a really good way of looking at some of the little setbacks that happen from time to time, that we're not too hard on ourselves. Sometimes other people will be a bit tough on us, but we've got to learn that, you know what, this is part of life. And again, like an athlete or like a player, nudge yourself along, move yourself along towards the next event. Because when you think about it, like Rory McIlroy is probably recognized as one of the top golfers in the world. He'll play in about 20 tournaments a year, and he'll probably win only 3 of them. In other words, he loses 17 times. So can you imagine going out and losing 17 times and only winning 3 times? But what he uses is, he uses each tournament as an opportunity to pick 2 or 3 little areas that he can improve on, and he heads into the next tournament or the next event, if you like, with that positive mindset. And Joe Schmidt, back in the day, used to sit down with the rugby players after the weekend, and whether they won or they lost, he'd ask them to bring a little notebook, and at the top of the page, write work-ons. The things the guys had to improve were their work-ons. He could have put it in a negative frame, or he could have made it really tough on them. You didn't do this, or you didn't do that. But no, work-ons. Hey, work on this. The past is gone. We can never change it. But what we can do is we can do much better in the future. And so that idea of taking a few little takeaways and working on them and trying to do better the next time is a brilliant way in which we can, again, get a much more positive frame on the way we go into these situations, be it sporting or otherwise. Yeah. So again, this is reframing. Are we walking around thinking that we've a load of failures, the weight of the world on our shoulder, or flipping it over? We've taken all these steps, we've learned all these little lessons, and as we go forward, things are going to get better because look at how much we've learned. So again, a great way of thinking of what's happened in life, and a great way, especially with younger kids, in terms of encouraging them to step by step, keep going, keep going. Yeah, there's a lesson to be learned here. You've got to keep moving along. So what those little lessons or those little setbacks are called they're called the learning pit. So from time to time, we will all fall into the learning pit. Things will go wrong. But hey, if we work at trying to improve it, if we work at maybe the way we approached it, maybe the things we said, over time, we can work our way out of the learning pit to a much higher, to a better place. And I remember I used to do a little bit of work with one of the senior hurling teams in Wexford. And I was introducing this concept to the lads there, and they got it because one guy from the back shouted up, yeah, well, Mick, our goalkeeper, he's been in the learning pit for the last 4 years and hasn't got out of it yet. In other words, he was making too many mistakes in the goals. But the idea is just step by step, you change your technique, you look for different cues, and over time you can improve the way you're going. Brilliant. So if we look at different ways of looking at the challenges or the opportunities that appear in front of us, what you notice over time is that there's something about us, something about the human spirit, if you like, that is meant to grow, that is meant to progress. It's great sitting at home, watching Netflix, eating the nachos in our comfort zone. But really where the magic happens is when you get out there, when you push yourself beyond your comfort zone. And that's where really the growth occurs. And when that growth is kind of recognized, acknowledged, you give yourself the pat on the back, then you really find that you can start to excel, in life for yourself in the ways in which you can kind of reap the benefits of. So on to the next one. So just a very little example of myself, I suppose, probably like a lot of us back in May 2020, I started a little bit of walking, a little bit of jogging. We have a local hill near us, Bree Hill is what it's called, down in Wexford, 179 meters high. But I kept going at it. Got a couple of buddies together. We started a little walking group, and just last weekend we headed out to Morocco and climbed the highest mountain in North Africa, Tublacal, a height of 4,167 meters, stretching ourselves beyond the comfort zone. And naturally climbed down, success, gave ourselves a pat on the back, went for a beer or two and decided, you know what, we can go further. We'll stretch ourselves further. So we put a little marker in the calendar for May 2025. We're going to head off to Ecuador and climb Chimborazo, 6,300 meters, higher than Kilimanjaro. And again, that was just from very small beginnings with no intention of doing any hill climbing, no intention of doing any trekking, but just prepared to step that little bit further each time outside the comfort zone. So that's just one little example there of how the magic can happen once you decide to push yourself a little bit further. So yeah, we'll go on to the next one. And what that is stepping outside the comfort zone. And in sport, what you'll find is, and in life as well, you step out the comfort zone, automatically the fear pops up. What happens if I don't think I can do it? You know, what will other people think of me if it doesn't work out? And that's just a natural reaction. We're built to try and spot dangers. We're built to shy away from danger. We're built to, you know, try and figure out that, you know, this is not right. And the reason for that is because back 10,000, 100,000 years ago, you're walking through the forest, you know, you hear a twig breaking. The natural reaction is that's danger. So we automatically look for situations that's beyond our comfort zone. And the response is, no, I won't bother. But if we can push through that, we push through into what's called the learning zone. And that's where you start to acquire new skills. You start to realize you can do stuff that you had never thought was possible. We deal with challenges, we deal with problems, and we find that we have the resources within us, the ability within us to cope with those. So you've extended out your comfort zone, and suddenly what you used to do is simple. And then you start to get excited, and then you start to say, wow, I think I can do a little bit more, or this is really getting exciting. Maybe I can go a little bit further. And so that was us. We could have stayed on Bree Hill in a comfort zone, but we decided to push it out. Yes, we put in the training. Yes, we go out and acquire the new skills, and bit by bit, we stretched it out. So something similar for yourselves. Maybe it's your first time doing Gaelic. Maybe you're returning after, you know, having a family or whatever it is, and you've already stretched outside your comfort zone by taking part in the Gaelic4Mothers&Others. You're probably a little bit in the learning zone, new skills. You're beyond your comfort zone. It mightn't be your cup of tea on day one, but stick with it. Go back into your comfort zone. Enjoy it. I've done well. Give yourself that pat in the back. Reframe it if necessary. Lots of positive self-talk. And then off you go again. What else can you do? What can you do beyond that? Chasing the dream, as they say. So what's really important is that instead of on the right, we kind of try and bite off too much. Take it step by step, little small steps, a little bit further every day, you know, a little bit of encouragement from people around you. And it's really funny, you know, a lot of people overestimate what they can get done in a year. We all set our goals at the start of the year, but most people underestimate what they can do in 5 or 10 years' time. So again, you know, we set our goal for 2025. We probably could do it next year, but you know what? It's probably too quick. So 2025, climb Chimborazo, put it way out there, and then take lots of little steps to get towards it. So yeah, and this little steps, this is our guy there, Mohammed, got us to the top of the mountain. You know, we're not spring chickens. I'm 56 years of age, but he walked us up the mountain at a snail's pace. And there were other climbing groups there. I'm not going to say half our age, but you know, a lot younger than we were, that didn't make it to the top, couldn't hack it because they went off too fast and they thought they could do it. He kept us going. He was like a 4-year-old at times. We were trying to push him along. Come on, would you hurry up? Would you hurry up? But no, he kept us going at a really slow pace. And we made it to the top and got that feeling, got that dopamine hit there on the top of the mountain that, yes, we've done it, you know, top of the world stuff. So that was Mohammed there, step by step, small steps, keep going. And so this is the pyramid there in terms of when you see the world champions, when you see the people who are at the top of their zone, what they've done is they've stepped out, first of all, from the comfort zone into a performance zone. And the performance zone is where you're committed to your goal. Probably like yourselves, you're going out once a week, twice a week to Gaelic4Mothers&Others. Occasionally you're uncomfortable, but the commitment to continue is there. Many other people are sitting at home, they're eating their chips, they're eating their nachos, they're not getting out. You've made that commitment, you've moved into the performance zone. You go a little bit further, and then you're into the high performance zone. And those are the folks that don't always feel comfortable with what they're doing. It's not easy to be at the top of the game. It's not easy for those Olympic athletes. They don't enjoy it all the time, but they know mentally, I've got to do this if I want to make it to the top. Similarly for myself, if I'm going to try and make sure that I climb that mountain in Ecuador, it's not going to be easy. I've got to get out. I've got to lose a bit of weight. I've got to do a lot more weekend work. It won't be easy, but the motivation and the rewards that you get, you know, make it all worthwhile. And then when you get to the peak performance zone, you know, people are on the edge. The athletes there, they know it's win or lose. They've got to push themselves as far as they can. They won't always win, but that doesn't matter to them. They're just hungry for that reward, hungry for those highs, and they go back out again, and they're just comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's the only way you'll really find out where your limits are, if you like. So that's just what the folks at the top are thinking and feeling. You know, it's not like they're coasting along. So I suppose in terms of just wrapping it up, trying to keep it really short, when you're looking at confidence, self-confidence and self-esteem, there's an awful lot that can be developed outside of the comfort zone. And the very fact that you've stepped out and got involved in the Gaelic4Mothers&Others and everything around that is absolutely brilliant. There will be some setbacks, whether it's injury or maybe it's just throwing yourself out into the group or whatever it might be, but those setbacks are part of the process. But what's really important is that you back yourself 100%. You give yourself that pat on the back, you know, the inner self-talk, you encourage yourself, you nudge yourself along, and push yourself out again. And then take the time to come back into that comfort zone. And even the top athletes, you know, what you find is the athletes that are trying to get there, generally they train too much. They overtrain. They're not recovering enough. The body is not meant to be pushed and pushed and pushed. The mind is not meant to be pushed and pushed. So we need to find those techniques where we can get back into the comfort zone, relax, recover, and then we're ready to go again. Most importantly, again, it's about those small steps that build our confidence in new areas, stepping out the comfort zone, trying it, pushing it, seeing how far you get, falling into the learning pit, and then working your way out of it, but always step by step. And then most importantly, when others aren't giving you the pat on the back, and they're not fully recognizing who you are and what you've achieved, most important in that in your own mind, you're ready to give yourself that pat on the back and say, well done for the effort involved. And when you start to do that, the confidence grows, the esteem grows, and then you go, do you know what? Hey, I can go a bit further. I can do a little bit more, whatever direction it is. So I suppose one of the phrases we'd use is greatness is found beyond the comfort zone. You know, sitting at home or sitting in the bar, you're never going to win any titles. You're never going to win any great awards, but stepping out there, stepping beyond the comfort zone, that's where the fun starts. And you'll be amazed at yourself in terms of what else can be achieved beyond what you've already done already. So that's really it. Yeah, so we go on to the next one. This is about resetting and refocusing. So sometimes we don't have the time to, you know, kind of take a week off or take a holiday away to reset and refocus and relax into the comfort zone. But here's a really quick technique that you can use. Sports folks will use it in the middle of a match. And it's a three-step process in terms of reset, refocus, and restart. 3 quick phrases. Something's not happening, you know, in the middle of a rugby game, a scrum, or, you know, the Gaelic game is not going right. The ball is up at the forwards and you're one of the backs and you've just let in a goal and you're feeling really bad about yourself. You know, a little trigger word, time to reset. It just wakes you up, yeah? The next thing to do is then refocus on the comfort zone. Come back into your comfort zone. Come back into an area where you can feel good about yourself. And then when you're feeling good, and it might only be a minute or it might only be 10 seconds, right, we go again. Let's go again. So this is even something that I would use, you know, during the day, you know, be it in work or wherever it is, just a little reminder to myself, hold on a second, reset, let's go again. Come on, we got this, we got this. So just in terms of refocusing on your comfort zone, let's just go on to the next slide. Well, this was us halfway up the mountain, 50-something-year-old trying to climb a 4,000-meter mountain. We had to get back into our comfort zone, reset, relax a little bit. And this was some of the food there halfway up that we got as we took 15, 20 minutes to relax. And then we went again for the second half. So that was, yeah. So deep breathing, again, if you want to relax, deep breathing is probably the most important way in which you can quickly regain that control. If you take, I'd say, 90% of Olympians, 90% of people that have won medals in the Olympics will be into this deep breathing or belly breathing during their training and during the competition. It's one of the quickest ways in which you can refocus, get yourself focused, get yourself relaxed, because at a physical level, what that deep breathing does is it kicks in what's called the vagus nerve, which is under your diaphragm. And so by breathing really deeply and engaging your diaphragm, you're kicking in that parasympathetic nervous system, which tells your body, relax, chill, take it easy, it's going to be okay. The opposite of that is when we're in fight or flight mode, we're panicking a little bit, we're doing a lot of upper chest breathing, like where you're just sucking the air into the top of your lungs. And that generally keeps you on edge, keeps your heart rate up. It's not good at all. So certainly when we were coming down the mountain, all of us were into the deep breathing. You were walking along the ledges, you're walking along the snow, 1 foot wrong. It wasn't as dangerous that you'd fall over and you might never heard of again, but certainly it wouldn't look good in front of your mates if you were to fall or misstep. But so the deep breathing was really important, just to stay focused and stay calm. And by deep breathing, what you do is you just breathe in through your nose, try and suck that breath right the way down to the bottom of your lungs, try and hold it there for a second or two, and then breathe back out through your nose again, really slowly. Lungs are empty, hold it out for a second or two and repeat it again. And by doing that, you kind of fall into a natural rhythm of relaxation. And once you're in that nice relaxed feeling, the heart rate goes down, and then you can say, okay, let's go again, let's go again. So we can use that as our comfort zone and make sure that we're going there quite often. So in terms of value in the community, we'll go on again. Volunteering, if you're getting involved with your clubs in whatever way, be it just, playing with the team in Gaelic4Mothers&Others, maybe you're taking on a role as a coordinator, maybe you're seeing that there are other needs within, you maybe get involved in coaching or helping out with some fundraising or another role within the club. What it is an opportunity for you to explore something new, stepping out beyond your comfort zone, stepping into an area that maybe you might have some doubts about, or maybe it's something that you're just ready for. So in doing something like that, it's really important to realize that not only you're just engaging, but for yourself, you're, the opportunity to develop new friendships, fun experiences, and also new coping mechanisms and new learnings, which you can use yourself or you can pass on to the, people around you or family members. So that's it. It's you're on the path to greatness. Well done to everybody that's got involved in it, and I wish you every success in the future. And hopefully a couple of those tips or tricks will help you out, or maybe it's something that you can pass on to somebody else. So that's it for this evening. Thank you.
Let's come back in there, Mark. Thanks so much for that. Unbelievable amount of tips and tricks and knowledge in there and insights for our participants. And I suppose looking at your own journey there in terms of, just starting out, when lockdown happened, with just hill walking and to where you are now. And I suppose it kind of reflects the journey that a lot of our Gaelic4Mothers&Others participants are on, insofar as, they're starting out in something that might be a baby step just onto the pitch, or just even going up and watching a session and say, no, I might get involved in that, and then it's you know, from there, then it's actually turning up every week, and it could possibly be taking part in a game with another club, or a provincial or a national blitz as well. And putting yourself out there and going outside of that comfort zone. You know, you were talking about Mohammed, your guide there, and that kind of, you know, helping you and guiding you out of your comfort zone. I suppose what kind of resonated with me was that's like a lot of coaches that we have around the country in terms of our Gaelic4Mothers&Others program. As you said, he was younger than you. You know, a lot of people, certainly on the call tonight, or a lot of participants who are watching back, you know, their coaches for their Gaelic4Mothers&Others program are younger than them, which is a possibly a unique situation where you don't generally get that in sport, where the participant, where the coach is younger than the actual participants. So to have that trust in somebody, and to enable them to guide you from your comfort zone into somewhere that's uncharted territory for you, and trusting them, it's just a fantastic leap of faith, I suppose, from our Gaelic4Mothers&Others sponsor with SportsDirect participants around the country. And just in terms of the volunteering as well, like what we're seeing now across the whole island, Gaelic4Mothers&Others is now in all 32 counties and beyond. And we're seeing the Gaelic4Mothers&Others participants now getting involved in other aspects of the club, and their value. And I suppose what we were talking about at the start, and the title of the webinar, is their value within clubs is now being recognised, and they're starting to value themselves and back themselves. And that could be a journey that somebody's had from the very start, from just maybe coming up and watching a session to becoming a participant on the pitch, but also a person of prominence within a club. Like, I just think that's so powerful.
Yeah, and that's it. And the past has happened. Nobody can ever change it. No one has ever been able to change anything in the past. But the future is unwritten. We don't know what's just around the corner. And once we're stepping outside, step by step, a little bit further, the magic comes, the magic happens. And we cycle in, always giving ourselves a pat on the back. I think in recent years, we've all got a little bit better with patting each other on the back. But certainly when I was younger, no, people wouldn't be afraid of, you know, saying and, you know, things to people. But now, listen, yeah, let's look after each other. Let's share the love drug, the oxytocin. Let's get into those groups where we're all supporting each other and move it all forward. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. So just in terms of moving on and a follow-on, if you need any information, I suppose, about the Gaelic4Mothers&Others sponsor with SportsDirect, there is our official club information guide, that you can certainly access all of the information about the program on that. It's been developed over the last couple of years, and it literally gives you every single aspect of the program. We also have the injury prevention series. So again, if you are taking those first steps onto the pitch, or maybe you're coming back after a period of inactivity, you know, use our injury prevention series. It's there, it's up on our YouTube channel as well. So, or you can access it through ladiesgaelic.ie, and it's a series of exercises that will prepare you for getting back on the pitch and equip you to be able to avoid injuries once you do get out on that pitch. And again, as Mark said earlier on, you know, to avoid that adversity that might cause you a knockback, putting those steps in place, that, you know, going outside your comfort zone, you know, doing these exercises either at home or on the pitch, or at your club, and preparing yourself for that journey ahead, so there are no knockbacks, or nothing to deter you from taking those first initial steps. I suppose just what I referenced earlier on there is the full series, which is also available on our YouTube channel as well. And you can see the search bar up the top there. And I suppose this little screenshot that I have here is from one of our previous webinars that we had done with Sinead Delahunty, which was Healthy on the Pitch, Healthy on the Plate. So, like, go on to our YouTube channel, check them out. They're still up on our social media channels as well, and platforms. So go and check those out as part of the full series. So we're going to end the webinar now. And thank you so much for your engagement this evening. If you need to get in touch with any of our staff or indeed myself, there are the details up on the screen in front of you there. So thanks so much to everybody for joining us on this particular webinar. I'd like to sincerely thank Mark for coming on with us on this webinar and giving such brilliant insights, tips, tricks, you know, such an in-depth level of knowledge about the subject, and I hope that everybody has enjoyed it. So listen, thank you so much, Mark, for taking part in the webinar, and thank you so much to everybody for tuning in.